Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we need to talk about the upcoming pattern. Obviously, we're in an ongoing cooldown right now. There is a warm-up expected, but now we can kind of see how there is a potential big cooldown that is coming very shortly after that warm-up starts. So we're going to talk about all of these things within this video. Yes, you heard me correctly. After the warm up, there is a cooldown shortly after expected. We really do expect that warm up to be quite brief if these models at the current moment are correct. So, we're going to talk about all that within this video. But before we get into it, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather related content. For today's comment of the day, I want to know, do you think that this warm up is going to be brief and we will promptly move back into a cold pattern, or do you think that it's going to be quite long lived? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Anyways, let's get into this video. First things first, we need to address that nor'easter that I talked about yesterday. How it's kind of a 50-50 flip if it's going to hit the East Coast or if it's going to be well offshore. Well, the European model was kind of the model we were holding on to, with the only one really showing that East Coast direct impact. And as of this morning, it has gone away from that solution. Now, I will say it can go back to that, but at this point, it is looking less and less likely that the East Coast will be directly impacted with, flooding, things of that nature. There might still be some waves and some windiness with it offshore, but it isn't expected to have direct impacts at this point. There still is, again, like I said, a chance that these models could trend back west, but that's looking less and less likely. As you can see, by time we reach about, perhaps this is about Sunday night time frame, you can see it's well offshore, the 998. So it is strong, it's just well offshore by this point, and then definitely well offshore by the time we reach about Monday evening of the Northeast. It's amazing how much this model has flipped in just 24 hours, because 24 hours ago, this one had it basically over New England, and now it has it where you can't even see it because it's so far into the Atlantic. Very interesting how much these models have been flip-flopping with these storm tracks. Let's hope that doesn't continue into the winter, because otherwise it's going to be very hard to really forecast the snowstorms this upcoming winter. It does happen sometimes. Now, let's get into the actual temperatures, because that's what this video is actually about. I just wanted to update you guys on that situation. Now, this is at about 6 a.m. on Thursday, so actually 30 minutes before I'm making this video. So basically right now, from the time I'm recording this, and you can see we're in a very cold pattern in the east, very warm pattern in the west. You likely feel it, so I don't even need to tell you that. But we have temperatures that are anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees below normal here in the east, which is a significant departure from normal. This was a deep, cold Arctic blast. Here in Virginia, it was, highs in the lower 50s, which is a lot like our wintertime highs. So we're looking at temperatures that are very winter-like here in the east, typical winter-like conditions here, but it's early November, obviously, so it is a pretty significant departure from normal. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to move on towards Monday morning. We're going to jump all the way towards the end of this first cooldown, the beginning of the warm-up, and then when this could come to an end, and we could see a big cooldown move in. All right, now here is the end of that cooldown. This is an interesting frame here because we can see the west is cooling down. Again, a negative PNA setting in. That is what that means, which almost always means warm in the east is going to prevail, a couple frames after this, really just over the next 2 days after that pattern sets up. And we will watch that happen. You can see some cold is holding on in the east, but that is going to really come to an end as this warm air mass that is located over the central United States will move in. And as you can see, by the time we're reaching Tuesday evening at about 8 p.m., that does take place. We see the warm has centered over the east. It has really beat out all of that cold, and we can see there is some cold there along the west coast. But right now, the models have this being very, very short-lived, actually. We expected this could have been a long-term pattern or a short-term pattern. We couldn't really see beyond this warm-up, but now it's becoming evident these models think it'll be a very brief warm-up. Because by the time we are reaching about Friday afternoon, November 12th, so I know this is very long range, but this is when that, warm-up is happening and then eventually the possible cooldown. There is a lot of legs for this potential cooldown to stand on. We do have clear evidence as to why these models think this could happen, and I'll show you that at the end, actually. So I know it's long range, but when you have those pieces of evidence, it does make a little more sense, although we do want to take it with a bit of a grain of salt just because it is longer out. But we can see that cool down is pouring into the central United States. This is actually an Arctic blast. It does come from northern Canada, directly from the Arctic regions, and it blasts down into the United States. Very intense Arctic blast as it moves quickly into the central United States. And look, the West has warmed up, positive PNA. That is what's going to allow for the cold temperatures to head east. Again, it's true time and time again. And by the time we reach Saturday afternoon, this is going to be maybe 2 p.m. here on November 13th, again Saturday, we can see this very potent Arctic blast has moved into the eastern half of the country. The Northeast is trying to hold on to some of that warmth. This is one of the last frames, but I wouldn't be surprised if that warmth in the Northeast does come to an end as well as this cold air wins out. We can also see out west, warm has really won out, and that is that positive PNA really setting in. Here's what those high temperatures on Saturday would look like. Obviously, we would be to the midway point of November. So those high temperatures, as you can see for the Northeast, are quite mild, and even down through into the mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. But again, that East Coast will probably get this potent cool down a couple frames after this. It's hard to say, but we can't see that far out. But further inland, we could see, lower to mid to upper 30s for most of these regions. We see 40s down into the Gulf states and then upper 50s, lower 60s for the very far southern region. So this is a very potent cool down, and the time of year is definitely assisting that as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at what the GFS model is showing because we want to get a little bit of a different opinion, and it can go a little bit further out. And then we're going to look at the AO and how that snowpack is doing, and then also the PNA in just a moment. All right, now here is the GFS model, and this is going to be for Sunday, November 14th. So already we're getting a little bit further out. And we can already tell this model is calling for much more potent cold air. Those blues inside the greens are going to be 15 to 25 degrees below normal, and the purples or magenta colors there will be 25 to 30 degrees below normal. So a very significant departure from normal. And let's take a look at the actual temperatures on this frame. And as you can see, 30s prevailing, lower 40s in some spots. But very potent cold air, especially in the heart of it. And even by Monday, November 15th, this model is still showing that cold air in the east, although there is signs that possibly we could be moving into a negative PNA, which could be a catalyst to turn this thing around, but it's hard to say at this point. And even as far as this model goes out, Friday, November 19th, which take this with, obviously a really huge grain of salt because this is, really far out. And we can see that there is still cold air in the east, though, and warm air in the west. But sometimes this model, once you get this extended into the range, it just kind of holds on to the pattern it was in the shorter range because there's not much to go based off of this far out. But there is some, value we can get from that. That is what things are leaning towards, but barely. Now we see the AO is positive, and it's expected to mostly stay positive, and it has mostly been positive. Our AO is our Arctic oscillation, by the way. So in a positive phase, it actually means there's colder air over the Arctic Circle. And in its negative phase, it means there's warmer air over the Arctic Circle. Because when there's warmer air over the Arctic Circle, it pushes the cold air elsewhere. So that's why we're always looking for a negative AO for cold air here in the United States, because that means that cold air can move from the Arctic regions down to us. But in its positive phase, it traps it all up there. And what ends up happening is this builds up the snowpack and just the ice up there in the Arctic Circle. And this is our current coverage, and you can see it's actually quite large at this point. We do have nice snow coverage and very decent ice coverage as well compared to recent years. And also, this is over the next 10 days what the European model expects as far as snowfall, and you can see plenty of it expected for a lot of the Arctic regions and even some surrounding regions a little bit further south. These things are actually going to lead towards more potential cold air later on because once that AO does go negative, that cold air is going to be even colder with this built up snowpack, built up ice. All of this stuff is just, it's like charging, you know what I mean? And there's no limit to how cold and potent that cold air can get. So the longer we stay in this positive AO with obviously some exceptions. If it stays positive through the winter, it's not going to be a very cold winter. But if it stays positive up until December, that would be very nice actually for cold and snow lovers because it's just going to continue to gain momentum and build up more potent. I hope that makes sense. Last but not least, here's our PNA because this is the driving force behind our current pattern. You can see we're in a very strong positive PNA hence why we're in a big cooldown right now. We are going to move into that negative PNA by about Sunday or Monday, hence why we're going to move into a warmer pattern, but that is only going to last maybe 1.5 days, 2 days, something like that, and it very promptly goes back to a positive PNA, and that will continue actually to gain momentum and become more and more positive as we move closer to about the 20th. So again, that warm up is looking very brief, and this is the evidence to stand on. The PNA is not expected to stay negative very long at all, and that is the only catalyst that is really leading towards warm air in the east. So once this moves back positive, we should start to trend more towards colder air in the east. I hope all these things make sense. I got a little bit technical in this video. Let me know what you think of that, though. I always love the feedback. For today's confidence tab, we're at a 4 out of 6. That's kind of our most popular one to be on because it's like a little bit confident, but a little bit conservative as well, saying, okay, let's take a step back though. So we're at about a 50 to 60% confidence. I think that's a good place for this video. For today's comment of the day, I asked you guys yesterday if you think this nor'easter will hit the East Coast or if it'll be a miss, and Gabby F said, I think this nor'easter will be a miss, and that's what I'm thinking this morning as well, as I said in the early portion of this video. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons. Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Larry the Pan, Mandy Birchfield, and Patrick Strickland as well. I would also like to thank our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalesa, Catbite, Charles Tennant, Cindy Klein, Alan Goodmaben, Bill Dallas, Gary's, John Calisi, Dwight Phelan, Stephen Krunenthal, and Thomas D. Barr as well. If you'd like to be a part of this very awesome patron end screen of the day, you can do so by joining our very awesome Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comments down below. I would also like to thank our channel members, Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. If you'd like to join that one, it'll be located next to the subscribe button down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and as always, subscribe for more weather-related content. I will see you guys in the next video.